All right, let's get into it. Today, we're going to look way beyond just chatting with an AI. We're talking about agent management. This is all about building and directing AI systems that are truly autonomous. They don't just answer your questions. They actually go out and get complex jobs done, all by themselves. You know the feeling, right? You've got a big, complicated task, and you end up in this endless back and forth with your AI assistant, prompt after prompt after prompt. It feels less like delegating and more like you're trying to micromanage a very confused intern. But what if there's a totally different way to work? So let's just put the old way and the new way side by side. With the traditional AI, you say plan a trip to Tokyo. And then the real work begins, for you. Okay, now find me flights. Right, now look for hotels near the conference. Can you put that on a schedule? It's exhausting. But with an agentic AI, you give it that same goal and it just goes. It does the research, it finds the bookings, it builds the itinerary. The key difference here? The number of times you have to interact plummets. It's a total game changer.
And that is the core shift we're talking about today. We're moving from a passive assistant that waits for your every command to a proactive agent that can think and act on its own.
So what really makes an AI agentic? It all comes down to autonomy. This isn't just about processing language anymore. An agent can perceive its environment. It can pull in new info. It can reason, actually think about that information to make a plan. And here's the kicker. It can act. It can use tools like browsing the web or connecting to other software to execute that plan. And then it learns from what happened.
This whole process runs in a continuous loop, and this loop is really the engine of its autonomy. First, it perceives the world around it, gathering up data. Then it reasons, figuring out the best course of action. Next, it acts, using its tools to get the job done. But this last step, learn, this is where the magic really is. It looks at the result of its actions and gets smarter for the next time. It's constantly improving.
Okay, but for an agent to reason and act effectively, it needs more than just a quick command. It needs to understand the whole picture. And this is where we get into the power of providing really rich context.
This really marks a huge change in how we should think about interacting with AI. We're basically graduating from prompt engineering, trying to craft that one single perfect magical sentence, to something called context engineering. Instead of just a command, you're giving the AI a full mission briefing with all the background files and data it needs to actually understand the assignment.
So instead of just saying, hey, make a marketing strategy, imagine giving it this prompt, plus a file with industry background, another with your target audience data, a full competitor analysis, and a document outlining your brand's core values. An agent that has all that context isn't just guessing, it's strategizing. It's really the difference between asking a random person on the street for directions versus asking a local expert who knows every single shortcut and back out.
But what happens when a task is so big that even one super smart agent isn't enough? Well, that's the next level. We start to assemble entire teams of specialized AI agents that can work together to solve incredibly complex problems.
Think of it like putting together a project crew. Let's say you need a big research report. You could have one agent, the researcher agent, whose only job is to scour the web and libraries for every relevant piece of information. Once it's done, it hands off all of its findings to the writer agent, who's an expert at taking raw data and turning it into a clear, well-written report. Each one has a specific job, just like on a human team.
And listen, this isn't just some theory. The frameworks to build these AI teams are already here. You've got tools like Crew AI, which is perfect for setting up agents with specific role-playing jobs. There's Autogen, which lets you create agents that can actually chat and debate with each other to find a solution. And for really complex structured processes, LangGraph lets you build out these detailed workflows with loops and decision points. The toolkit is ready.
So that's all pretty cool, but how does this stuff actually translate into the real world? Let's look at a concrete example of how agentic AI is automating business processes right now.
Think about customer support. A ticket comes in. Instantly, an AI agent reads it, analyzing not just the words but the customer sentiment. Are they frustrated, confused? It then immediately routes that ticket to the right human team, whether that's tech support or billing. And it can even take it a step further and generate a draft response for the human expert to review.
This is automation that's both incredibly efficient and intelligent.
Now, what's absolutely wild is how fast these systems can be developed. There's this emerging method people are calling vibe coding, and it is completely changing the game for building new applications.
Get this. Using a method like vibe coding, you could potentially go from a simple idea to a working demo in about an hour. You start by just describing what you want in plain English. The AI generates the basic code. Then comes the really cool part. You and the AI work together, like a pair of programmers. You guide, it codes. You test, it debugs. This kind of tight collaboration can compress what used to be weeks of work into just an afternoon.
Of course, whenever you have this much power and autonomy, you absolutely have to talk about responsibility. As these agents get more and more capable, building them safely and securely is not just an option, it's a necessity.
When an agent can take action on its own, you face new kinds of threats. Take prompt injection. That's a high-risk scenario where someone tries to trick the agent into doing something it shouldn't. You have to fight that with really tough input validation. Data leakage is another huge one, which means you need ironclad access controls. The bottom line is that security can't be an add-on at the end. It has to be baked into the design from the very first line of code.
So, there you have it. We've gone from simple prompts to autonomous agents, from single instructions to rich context, and even to entire collaborative AI teams. These systems are getting more powerful literally by the day. Which leaves me with one last question for you to think about. As these agents get smarter and more capable, what is the one complex, annoying, time-sucking task that you would immediately hand over for them to master first? The possibilities are really just starting to open up.